Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. If you are rated 400 elo in chess, this is the moment where you have to realize that your openings and your patterns and your pattern recognition and your calculation is simply not on point. It is important to stick to one very important rule. You put your pieces and you bring them into the game. You put them into the game, you bring them into the game. Not F3. This is what we call a natural square. My opponent, rated around 400 elo, just played bishop b4 against me. And bishop b4, sadly, he missed the fact that the pawn on e5 is hanging, and I can just capture the pawn for free. Sure, he can play queen f6, exactly like he did, but it's just attacking my knight, and I can just retreat the knight and bring it back to f3. Now, what is this position giving to me is very simple. It's giving me a numerical advantage. I'm up a pawn, but also I have one more pawn in the center against one, sure, but I can have a second pawn in the center. Now, I would like to play d4, but the bishop is spinning my... Oopsie, I completely destroyed everything. No, but the problem is that my pawn is pinned by the bishop. I can just play c3, which is not great technically because it's not putting the knight into the game, but then it allows me to play the pawn move d4. What is this pawn move doing? It is giving me this um, this central control. Why is it so strong? It is because when you have those pawns, you can chase your opponent's pieces away, mainly the knight. I can play d5. Not e5, since the d6 pawn is controlling the e5 square, but I can play d5. And now after knight e5, be careful, the bishop is not protected, and since the king is still in the middle, I can, sure, I should maybe capture here first, because I wanted to go queen a4, which is attacking both the king and the bishop. The problem is, I don't like the fact, even though I'm up a piece, that he can just capture on f3, I capture back, queen takes, and then he attacks my rook. Maybe I should just take on e5 first. Yes, I think that's the best. Then once he captures back, either way, the pawn or the queen, I have the move queen a4 check, which doubles attack the king and the bishop. If you're not sure about that yet, you can just go check my video about the guide, the ultimate guide to get better at chess when you are a beginner. Yeah, that's basically my whole training methodology, what everything you should be doing in order to get better and better and better at this game. So yeah, finally you know how things works. Now, he went queen e4 check against me. Am I moving my king away? No, because I would like to be able to castle, but I will play bishop e3, which brings the piece into the game, and at the same time it blocks the check. Okay, this move is attacking my pawn. I can eventually play c4 to defend the pawn, um, but I will do something that is called simplifying. If I go knight d2, he will capture on d5 with the queen in order to save the queen, but then the pawn might be hanging right there. No, wait, he can eventually attack me. Is it a problem? If I move back, I cannot capture on b7, the queen is there. I cannot move back. So maybe if I do this, queen d5, I'm losing the pawn. Maybe there is no reason to do that. I can eventually play the pawn move c4. Why is this pawn move so great? It is because the pawn is protected by the bishop, and now it enables me knight to c3. Also, this is the second point, my queen can now move back on d2, and I just created an escape square for my queen. Now, of course, he castled, and now I'm getting access to the c3 square, which is the natural square of my knight. So we see a lot of tactics. Be careful when you rate it around 400 elo, you should really be careful about what you're doing with your pieces. Do not blunder them. Be careful about your opponent's attacks. Now I'm playing bishop d3. This is a natural square for the bishop, and the bishop is just targeting my opponent's king. And I will do something very funny, by the way. I will not play short castles. I will do something that is called playing a double-edged position. I think that I'm going to castle on the queen side, although it's pretty dangerous, and for a pedagogical standpoint of view, I shouldn't be doing that. But I think it will also teach you a lot if I start playing slightly more aggressively than I usually do. Now, what am I doing? I'm basically putting my king into safety. It's not safe yet because when you're long castling, you will need one more move in order to put your king really behind your pawns, but my king is going to be weak. Weak. Save. Okay, I just captured back with the pawn. I don't want to trade the queens off. There is no reason to, even though I'm up a piece. Yeah, this is how it goes, basically. Just waiting for my... Okay, if you go g6, what I see is that you're weakening your king a little bit. Maybe I could just go pawn to e4. What I'm doing now is that I'm ready to push this pawn because I have more pawns in the center, but mainly it opens up my queen, which can now slowly but surely go on h6 and start attacking the king. Um, I will go queen h6 with the idea that I would like to be able to go h4, h5, capture, capture, and then the rook will be open since there won't be any more h pawn on the h file. Now, I would like to be super aggressive today, so I will play h4 anyways, but you shouldn't be as aggressive as I am because I'm not good at chess. But now I can just go knight takes back, keep going with my idea of going h5 without ever having to fight against a bishop that will close the h file. Yeah, no check in sight. My queen is defending everything, so I will just go h5. If he goes queen takes, then the rook captures the queen, and if pawn takes, then I can just go once again rook takes, and I'm going to mate him. Yeah, very unlucky. By the way, I see a tactic. If he goes g5, I can go e5, which opens up this diagonal for the bishop. Exactly. Boom, this is what we call a clearance sacrifice. I want this diagonal to be open, but the pawn is on e4, blocking the bishop. I can just go e5, which attacks on h7. And sure, he might eventually take a look at the pawn. Oh, the pawn is hanging, what is going on? But actually what matters isn't the pawn. What matters is this thing over here. He went queen f4. I can just hide my king back on b1, and once again, you notice that my king is just safe. Now, if he goes f5, okay, sadly he missed the checkmate threat, so I will have to go for a checkmate. But I think that I won't go queen h7. I think I should just go bishop h7 first, just to show you a pattern that happens very often. The king will go on h8. Then I will bring my bishop back to g6. It wasn't necessary. Queen h7 was just mate in one. Please let me play the move. Please, 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 please. Yes, bishop g6. The king has to go back on g8. Now it's a discover attack, and now checkmate. Very good. This is basically how it goes. Wants my opponent a second round. Hopefully he wants. If he doesn't, then we will have to go. But basically, you see a little bit more what happens at those 400 elo level. People miss a lot of hanging pieces very, very, very often. So I would be recommending you to be careful about those. If you want to get better at tactics, you can just go check my guide on, the Ultimate Chess Guide if you're a chess beginner or if you're rated under 400 elo and you want to reach 1000 elo. It's not as hard as it seems. You can really make it. Tell me more in the comment section. I'll be very happy to answer you. Subscribe to the channel. See you in the future. Take care.